Did you see it? Did you see the change that just happened? This is called an overlay. And if you want to know more about how to use it to identify real, authentic varieties, errors, or maybe even counterfeits, then stay tuned. This is the one you want to see. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's Frostbyte. And what you're looking at right now is an 1860 Indian head cent. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important because this is an authentic coin, and this is going to be the coin that's going to help me determine what's wrong with the next coin I'm about to show you. Now, I showed you on Sunday 10 counterfeit Indian head cents. And from those 10, I've chosen 3. And I'm going to be showing you those. But there's differences in each one of the coins. So you're not going to want to go away because you're going to have to be able to tell the differences between each and every one. Some of them obvious, some of them not so much. Finally, I'm going to wrap it up by showing you how to create an overlay so that you can do this on your own. All right, so for the purpose of today, I'm going to be utilizing Canva. They're not a sponsor, but again, this is a program that I like to use to do things like thumbnail generation and overlays. You can do overlays in a number of different programs. So this just happens to be the one that I like to use. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at this 1860 Indian head cent. Now, this image came from PCGS. All of my images, with the exceptions of the ones that I took, came from PCGS, looking at the Indian cents. And I'll give you that link in the descriptions down below. This coin is an MS66 red brown. It's a beautiful specimen. And as you can see here, you got great detail in the feathers. You got nice detail in the date. The fields are clean, and the United States of America is very clear and easy to see. You also have nice denticles all the way around the rim of the coin. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the transparency to about 25%. Now, when I get to 25%, you're going to notice some differences in the coin. There's going to be some edges that start to blur. You're going to start to see what almost looks like mechanical or machine doubling, right? You're going to see a lot of different things just start to stand out. You're going to see some doubling in the headdress and here down in the date. As I take this a little bit higher, take it to about 50%, you're going to notice some significant changes start to happen. You're going to notice some changes in the rim. You're going to notice some changes in the denticles. You're going to notice some changes in the details of the tail feather. You're going to notice some things back here behind the ear. So pay attention to this as I go ahead and move this up to 75%. Now, as I get to 75%, you're going to see some significant changes. Now, I'm not talking about looking at the changes of color. Color for me right now, it's not a thing. You may look at this and say it's a little bit washed out. For the purposes of this, I'm not looking at the quality of the photo. I'm looking at what the details are in the coin, okay? So when we look at this, you're definitely going to notice that you can still see the rim of the coin below it, indicating that the coin on top, which is the counterfeit one, is a little bit smaller in diameter. And as you can see little minor details, but again, now the shifting has already occurred and you're not seeing much of the overlay or underneath. You're seeing a little bit here. You're seeing some little details. You're seeing the backside here of the coin that's the authentic one. But again, you're just seeing some little mushy details. And then as I come up here to 100%, you're going to see a massive notable difference in the field of the coin. And if you look at this all the way around, you're going to notice that there are no denticles on this particular coin. There's a couple here and there. They're very sparsely done. But again, when we come back to 0, we look at the authentic coin, you can see there's a significant difference in the coin itself. Now let's take a look at some of the design elements of this particular coin and point out why they're wrong. So you can see here the little piece of hair. As we go down, you can see that hair changes. It's much more detailed, much finer point on it. If you look at the details, as I stated before, behind the ear, you come back through, you can see all those details get washed out. They're not there anymore. All those little crevices and crannies that you saw are there. They're not there anymore. The date is pretty decent. If you look at the one, you'll notice some changes in the one. It's pretty close, but it's not quite the same. You look at the 6, the font is different on this one than it is this one. You look at that 0, it's a little bit fatter and wider. This one is more of a cat's eye look to it. And then if you look at the shifting of the letters, you'll notice that the letters shift quite a bunch. Not only do the details in the letters shift, but you'll see things like the neck shifts a little bit, the eyes shift a little bit, and then the feathers on the headdress shift a little bit. So there's some definite differences in this coin. Now I'm going to go ahead and scroll down here and I'm going to go to this next one. And right off the bat, you should indicate or see that there's something really, really wrong with this coin. This coin just does not look right. It doesn't look the same. And as I change the transparency on this particular coin, again, I'll come back up here, click on my transparency tool. And as I bring this up, you're going to notice some significant differences in the transparency of this particular coin. And as I change it, you'll see that there are massive differences. Again, I'm not looking at the lighting of the coin. I'm looking at the Indian itself. I'm looking at some of the changes in the numbers, and I'm looking at some of the shifts in the denticles. Now, the denticles on this coin all the way around are pretty much there. You can see it looks like maybe something took a hit, but I want you to look at the numbers down here. That 1, that 8, that 9, and that 7. And as I shift it down, you're going to notice that 1 not only shifts position, but it's going to shift style. If you look at the 8, you're going to notice that 8 changes, that 9 becomes short and stubby, and then the bottom positioning of the 7 becomes a little more truncated and it shifts to the left, making it look more like a triangle than the number 7 position. So that's a definite giveaway. Obviously, this information here on the face, it's a little bit laughable. You can see the big old chunky lips. You can see the changes here. And then again, as you look at the feathers have over-detailed. These have definitely been tooled. They stand out way more than any Indian head scent should. And so again, this one, unlike the other one, really, really, really stands out. But as stated before, if you look at the edge of that coin, the rim of the other coin, you can see that regardless of what happens. So this coin, like the other one, is smaller than the original. Again, when you're looking at quantifying whether a coin is real or not, taking all measurements into account, thickness, diameter, weight, all of those things are extremely important when classifying an authentic versus a counterfeit coin. This definitely wouldn't test the same in diameter, and it should cause a little bit of concern. The weight on this is also wrong. This weight is a little bit light for what it should be. All right, so the next one we're going to do is we're going to get down here to the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually show you how to create an overlay. Now over here, right behind me, you're going to see an image. I'm going to click on this. This is going to be the 1891. And then the other thing I'm going to have here is the 1891. This is the image that I took of the counterfeit coin that I have. So the first thing that I'm going to want to do is kind of move this out of the way, and let's get the images set up. So as you can see here, there's this thing over here, the slider. So I'm going to close this off. I don't want to see the whole particular of the coin. Then I'm going to bring this down here and I'm going to make this coin fit the elements of the screen. So let's go ahead and just shift this off to the side. Let's make sure that we can see all of the coin. There's a good, nice little edge there. Let's go ahead and set that right there. Now we're going to come up here to edit photo. We're going to remove the background on this, just get the coin itself. And then let's go ahead and truncate those images into that edge. All right, so we have those. So now we'll make this a little bit bigger. We'll get that set to where it's about the same, somewhere in there. And then what we'll do is we'll begin to play with the transparency a little bit to get this aligned. So the first thing that we see is there's a little bit of a rotation issue. You can see that this coin is shifted a little bit. So if we change this, we'll put that about there. We'll get this coin kind of lined up on those edges, and then we need to rotate this just ever so slightly to about right there, which is about good on the date. Okay, so here we go. We got a good positioning now. We have a pretty good overlay. We can shift these down just a little bit, and I think we have a pretty decent overlay right there, about the same size, and we're good to go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this transparency all the way up, and I'm going to show you this coin. Now you can see that the diameter on this coin is better. This actually is about the same size as the other coin. And this coin also shows the denticles. Now I can come down here and I can change if I want to, and I can make this look a little bit more like the other coin that I had. If I need to, if you have a hard time looking at this, you can change that. So I'll put that there. So just so you can see it's a little bit closer in similarity. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to click on the transparency and I'm going to reduce this. And what you're doing is you're looking for changes. Now I want you to look in the change in the Indian itself. You'll see some doubling when I'm about the 50% mark. You can see that the date lines up pretty decent. There's a little shift in the date, but the United States of America doesn't align. There's a little push in the Indian's face that looks kind of like an Overton that you'd see. And then you can see some changes over here. Now the rim is the same and the date is about the same. And so these elements should align pretty quick. We took a moment to make sure that the head aligned up top and the date aligned, so the rest of the coin should align. So there's something here that's not quite right. And so as we come back through and we make this big and we come back in, we'll notice some changes. And you can see some changes in this date. The date shifts. The ones are not quite right. The thickness in that first one, it's a little bit too thin. On this one, you can see they thicken up a little bit here. As you look at the area behind the ear, you can see some details here, but again, up here in the top, it's a little bit lost. You can see that detail goes all the way up. Here, again, it's lost up at the top, which is pretty common in this particular type of type of coin. You can see the really grainy appearance with the marks running across. It looks like it's been kind of clean. Now, one thing that you'll also notice in many of these coins is that they're toned. They do a lot of toning to try and hide some of the imperfections in the fields themselves. But again, they did a better job with identicals. So if we want to look at the identicals and we want to see the difference, you'll notice the identicals shift a little bit. There is a little bit of shifting in the way the identicals look between that coin and this coin. But again, for the most part, you can see there's really not much of a shift in the position of the coin. The coin actually stays pretty much the same position as you run through this. But again, when you look at this, seeing them side by side, back and forth, you can clearly tell that this particular coin is not authentic. We went through, I showed you a little bit of a counterfeit. I showed you how to compare and contrast, and I showed you how to do that. If you want to learn more about counterfeiting, so right above me, there's going to be a link. I suggest you go check out this video if you want to know more about counterfeit coins. The counterfeit coin that's above me is talking about silver eagles. If you're a stacker, you're a collector, you definitely want to go check out this particular video.